Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. What do you think about the presidential race at this point, the Obama-Romney matchup? And do you think if Mitt Romney loses this race, that it'll be the end of the Republican Party? Mark Levin saying, man, they'll pack up and go home. Laura Ingraham saying just to pack up and phone it in. This is a gimme election. They lose this one, they ought to just go out of business. Rush Limbaugh saying if Romney loses this election, it will be the end of the Republican Party. Love to know what you think about all of those issues. 888-589-8840. Now, another medical authority has come out on Todd Akin's behalf, by the way. Remember his comments about rape and the impact of trauma on a woman's ability to conceive. Here is Jane Orient. She's an MD with the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. And she said this: I think Akin was making a statement that in cases of forcible rape, pregnancy is quite uncommon, and there are medical textbooks that support what he says. And she referred specifically to a 1988 textbook, the second edition of Human Sex and Sexuality, which estimates that there is a 2% pregnancy rate in cases of rape. There's a 2012 textbook, Comprehensive Gynecology. It estimates between 2 and 5%, and it says flatly, in the experience of most sexual assault centers, the chance of pregnancy occurring is quite low. And Dr. Orient said implantation and maintenance of a pregnancy is a very complex process. It depends on a lot of hormones working properly. And we do know that miscarriages occur more frequently in women who are under a lot of stress. I don't know of anything that could be more stressful than a forcible rape. And so even if the fertilization occurs, it's possible that the stress reaction is going to cause the pregnancy not to be maintained because the right hormones mix is not going to be present. So not going to be present. So again, more confirmation that Todd Akin did not, in fact, misspeak. Now, Apple's got some problems. They may be enabling forced abortions in China. There's a human rights campaigners, a group of them, including the blind Chinese activist Chen Guangcheng, who was just recently released from China. Human rights activist China Aid President Bob Fu. They are concerned that Apple, they make their iPhones and their iPads over there, that they are allowing the coercive pregnancy testing of female employees, and that those employees may be subject to forced abortions under the one-child policy that China has. And talking about the war on women, that's the liberals waging the war on women. Women who have an abortion, an induced abortion, a single induced abortion increases the risk of maternal death, risk of death to the mother by 45%. This was a study in Denmark over a 25-year period. And if a woman in this 25-year period had had one induced abortion, her risk of dying in that 25-year window went up by 45%. If she had two induced abortions, her risk of dying prematurely went up 114%. So abortions obviously are fatal to the child. And now we're discovering there's a huge mortality risk to the woman who has the abortion. So the real pro-women group in this debate are the pro-lifers. Now, the abortion industry trying to reclaim the letter A. Here is actress Martha Plimpton, and they're trying to reclaim the scarlet letter A. Really, it stands for abortion, but she's saying A in this case is for autonomy. And don't forget, as you listen to her talk, when we talk about abortion, we are not talking about one body. We are talking about two bodies. We are talking about not only the body of the woman, but the body of the baby that she carries. Keep that in mind as you listen to this PSA. Martha Plimpton, let's listen.
A is for autonomy. Nobody owns my body but me. I'm in charge of what I do with my body, and having the ownership of my body means that I have ownership of my life. If you don't have ownership of your body, what are you in control of in this life? Nothing. If you can't decide when, where, and whether you want to have kids, you kind of basically have no control over anything. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that I'm in control of my physical destiny, nobody else. This is a very American principle. This is something that this country was founded on. The right and ability of every American to be able to live their life as they see fit. I strongly believe that women share this right. And to me, the definition of small government means that government doesn't interfere with my physical determination to do whatever I want to do with my own body. So for me, A is for autonomy.
And Martha Plimpton, we are not talking about what you do with your body. We believe that you've got a right to do whatever you want with your body. It belongs to you. It's between you and God what you do with your body. But we are not talking about your body. We are talking about a body of another human being, and nobody has the right to do whatever they want to the body of another human being. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Michael in Fayette, Alabama. Michael, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon. I'll make this as quick as possible because I know that your program is almost over. It's about, I'm sorry, but I've got to offer a rebuttal about something you said at the end of yesterday's program. You are Brian Fisher is spot on about abortion, spot on about rape and incest, absolutely. However, some of the women who experience rape talk about victims of rape and incest. Women, Arab women, I'm not going to say Islamic because some of them are Arab Jewish and Arab Christians who can be abducted by Islamic men within their own countries. Some of them, a tiny handful of Muslim immigrants in this country do come here seeking refuge from those men, and honor killings are not just angry spur of the moment killings out of testosterone. They are premeditated. And yet yesterday you said, if they don't like this country, if they don't like the United States, why don't we just give them the opportunity to leave? Either legislation, yes, some of them who do hate this country must be exported, but those, if you're going to say Islamics only and not Hindu Americans, Buddhist Americans, and we complain about, rightly so, about Christians facing persecution in other countries, Voice for the Martyrs and wonderful groups like that, International Christian Concern, are going to have a hard time standing up for, speaking on behalf of the United States with our federal aid for natural disasters and so forth in those countries when the people here we want Islamophobia here in this I see this as their being in this country as a wonderful way for you and I to witness to them for Jesus Christ.
Well, that's fine, Michael, and I'm all for that, and I appreciate your call. The problem is that most Muslims, when they come to America, they don't want to integrate. They don't come here to enjoy our freedoms, to enjoy our liberties. They come here to take over. And they form their own Muslim enclaves in places like Dearborn and Hamtramck. And I think a woman that comes to America to get away from honor killings, great, that's fantastic. This ought to be a place of protection and asylum for them. But in exchange for the refuge that she has here, maybe it's time for her to think about adopting our values and our customs and our way of life and leaving behind the darkness of Islam. Let's go to Dan in Warner Robins, Georgia. Dan, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Well, I'll talk really quickly. That last one didn't. I was just out of town this past week, but I heard you Thursday week you were going out of town. That lady that was running the radios down there at the convention pulled a lift one on you. She made you say gay agenda instead of homosexual agenda, and then she turned around and used the term homophobe on you. Either they're homosexuals or they're gays, but they're causing you to twist your tongue. All I can say is let's be firm on the language we know is true.
All right, Dan, I appreciate the call. I use a range of terms. Everybody knows what I mean. There's no lack of clarity there. In fact, I've gotten some heat for saying that what the homosexual activists are about is sodomy-based marriage. That's what they are about. Let's be direct. Let's be truthful. Let's go to Glenn, College Station, Texas. Glenn, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind? Glenn, are you with me?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
That's right. Go right ahead.
Couple of questions or a couple of statements. You were asking about the polls, how we feel about them down here in Texas, especially College Station, where Texas A&M, very conservative school.
Yeah.
It's not hard for us to use the texting initial OMG, and everybody knows that stands for Obama must go. That type of conversation is held here every day because we're a very conservative community. So the polls here say, or what I hear, is that it's neck and neck. And the mainstream media seem to be trying to make it a neck-and-neck race, whereas where I'm from, my 8-year-old son in the second grade had a poll, and only 2 people out of his whole class would vote for Obama. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I wonder, Glenn, if maybe that is the case more often than we realize. You know, and I know these pollsters, they place calls throughout the day and all that kind of stuff. But if they're going to oversample Democrats, which is what they have been doing in part because they want to give a boost to Obama, it could conceal the truth on the ground, like what Glenn is reporting from College Station, Texas. Got an entire class, 2 kids in that class would vote for Obama if they had the opportunity. You know, and you have got to think that with the state of the economy and all that, that it's going to be very difficult for people to vote for 4 more years of this. I mean, just from an objective standpoint, it's just hard to see why people would say, yeah, I love what's happening under this kind of leadership. I love what's happening to the economy. I love what's happening to our freedom under these kind of policies, this kind of political worldview. I want 4 more years of this. I think for most of us, it's just hard to understand how somebody would say, yeah, I love what's going on, and I want to vote for 4 more years of this. So we'll see as we get closer to the election, as these polling firms now start to think about their reputation, their accuracy, we may start seeing some different numbers. To this end, we always pray for you that our God may make you worthy of his calling and may fulfill every resolve for good and every work of faith by his power, so that the name of our Lord Jesus may be glorified in you and you in him. Winnable War Moment, Pastor Youssef Nadarkhani has been freed from prison in Iran.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of American Family